Coming up, a discussion about defense in the NBA.
Plus, Richardson spotlights the importance of Black history in sports.
I'm Natalie King.
And I'm Taylor Zielenbach.
All this and so much more.
Rambler Sports Locker begins now. Before we get started, I'd like to take this moment to say how excited I am for my RSL debut.
And we're so excited to have you here at RSL, Taylor.
Well, before we get started, I'd like to take this moment to say how excited I am for my RSL debut.
Well, it looks like someone's in the Groundhog Day spirit. Now, with the recap of all Loyola sports this week, here's William Bazzone with the Rambler Rundown.
Happy Friday, Loyola fans. I'm William Bazzone, and this is your Rambler Rundown. Let's first talk about the annual Jesuit Jam. On Tuesday night, the men's basketball team defeated St. Louis University in their second matchup of the season, 77-62. They take sole possession of third place in the Atlantic 10 standings and remain at home to play against Davidson this Sunday at noon. The track and field squad traveled down to the south side for the Blue Demon Alumni Classic this past weekend and had another historic outing on the track. 6 program top 10 times were set, as well as 25 PRs for Rambler runners. They get a much-deserved week of rest and will return next weekend with 2 meets. The men's volleyball team wrapped up their non-conference schedule in a 2-game homestand last weekend. They swept Long Island University 3-0 last Friday night and took care of the 16th-ranked George Mason Patriots 3-1 the next day. They played last night on the road against Ball State and continued their road trip against Purdue Fort Wayne on Tuesday. Women's basketball has faced a tough stretch with 2 straight losses at the hands of Duquesne last Sunday and St. Joseph's on Wednesday. Make sure to check out my recap on the channel. Their next game is tomorrow against George Mason at 3 p.m. That's all we've got for this week. Make sure you get out, support your teams, and as always, go Ramblers. Natalie and Taylor, back to you.
Thanks, William. What a great week for Rambler Sports. It was also a great week for tennis at the Australian Open. Here's Joey Knese with more.
The 112th Australian Open concluded on Sunday with Jannik Sinner and Aryna Sabalenka winning the men's and women's Grand Slam singles respectively. Sinner beat Novak Djokovic, the #1 ranked player in the world, in the semifinals to set up a match with fourth-ranked Daniil Medvedev. Sinner came back from 2 sets down to beat Medvedev and win his first Grand Slam tournament. The 22-year-old is the first Italian player to win the Australian Open since 1976 and is starting to make some serious noise in the world of tennis. Moving on to the women's side of the tournament, Aryna Sabalenka defended her 2023 Australian Open title with a victory over 12th-ranked Qin Wenzheng. Sabalenka got her revenge on Coco Gauff in the semifinal, beating her 7-6 in the first set and 6-4 in the second. This was a rematch of the U.S. Open final last year, where Gloff beat Sabalenka in 3 sets to win her first Grand Slam tournament. Sinner and Sabalenka are both taking home $3.15 million for their victories. The total prize money for the tournament was $86.5 million, which was a 13-point increase from last year, with the participants of the qualifying rounds benefiting the most as they saw a major raise in pay. For Rambler Sports Locker, I'm Joey Knese.
Thanks, Joey. This past weekend, the 49ers beat the Lions and the Chiefs beat the Ravens, striving for a Super Bowl 58 berth. Oliver Allen brings us a closer look.
Is that Yummy by Justin Bieber I hear on the radio? While the top songs might have changed since 2020, the Super Bowl matchup is the same, as the Chiefs and 49ers will play in Super Bowl 58 on February 11th. But how did they get there? The Chiefs kicked off the AFC Championship games on the road against the #1 seed, my Baltimore Ravens. Both teams came out hot as an 86-yard touchdown drive by Kansas City was quickly matched by a 30-yard touchdown pass to Ravens wide receiver Zay Flowers. The game appeared to be a shootout in the making after an Isaiah Pacheco rushing touchdown gave the Chiefs a 14-7 lead early in the second quarter. However, those 14 points proved to be all the Chiefs needed as they battled their way to a 17-10 win. Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce connected for a perfect 11 catches on 11 targets for 116 yards and a touchdown, but the Chiefs' ability to force turnovers ended up being the deciding factor. A Lamar Jackson fumble, an end zone interception, and, perhaps most costly of all, a Zay Flowers fumble at Kansas City's 1-yard line proved massive for the Chiefs in the 1-score win. The 49ers faced off against the Detroit Lions in the nightcap. Detroit came in determined to make their first Super Bowl appearance in franchise history, and they got off to a hot start, driving downfield for touchdowns on each of their first 2 drives. Aided by a Brock Purdy interception, a pair of Lions field goals made it a 24-7 lead at halftime. However, San Francisco turned the tables in the second half, putting up 27 unanswered points to take the lead. Touchdowns from running backs Christian McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell, and receiver Brandon Ayuk led to the onslaught. Detroit's offense, on the other hand, struggled, as a Jahmyr Gibbs fumble as well as a pair of controversial failed 4th down conversions led to the collapse. A late touchdown pass to receiver Jameson Williams came too late, and the 49ers completed the comeback, winning 34-31. Super Bowl 58 is fast approaching, with the Chiefs looking for their 3rd title in 5 years and the 49ers looking for their first in almost 30. There is a lot on the line on February 11th. For Rambler Sports Locker, I'm Oliver Allen.
Thanks, Oliver. Coming up next is Vanessa Hoxha with a report on the Loyola men's volleyball match.
Volleyball is a team sport, but setter Ryan McElliott made a statement Saturday night running his offense against the George Mason Patriots. Just a sophomore, and McElliott has set a career-high 5 kills, 9 points, and a total of 6 blocks.
And you know, Ryan, to a lot of his credit, this last weekend, you know, Schobel's out, and Ryan stepped up and did what we know he can do.
Loyola defeated George Mason 3-1 in set play. The Ramblers came out very explosive in the first set, being aggressive at the net, winning long, fought-out rallies, and effective blocking helped the Ramblers put points on the board. The Ramblers took the first set 25-20. Outside hitter Parker Van Buren, a key offensive player on this team, had an exceptional night with 17 kills and 20 digs. George Mason didn't go down without a fight in the second set. The Patriots kept the ball up and rallied long and hard, but it was no match for the Ramblers' explosive offense. The Ramblers took the second set 25-18.
After going 2-0 in set play, the Ramblers then faced some adversity in the third set.
The third set started neck and neck, but outside hitter on the Patriots, Omar Hoyos, and opposite Jack Bolts, applied the pressure, digging the Ramblers into a bit of a hole 17-13. Although they fought hard, it wasn't quite enough, and the Ramblers came up short 25-20. The Ramblers regained their momentum in the fourth set. Middle Nico Demis-Meyer had an outstanding performance. He's also set a career-high 7 blocks, 7 kills, and 10.5 points. He helped lead his team to victory in the fourth set. McElliott started the match strong and ended it scoring the match point on a setter kill. In the press conference after the game, McElliott touched on Van Buren's performance.
Well, Parker was pretty unbelievable tonight. He was really pounding the ball pretty hard. It's just, it's so easy to have a guy like that on the right side. You can just throw balls to, you can put them away.
He then talked about the season ahead.
Like Coach said, like the harder schedule earlier in the season is definitely going to help us build character moving forward in conference. I think that's exactly why they built it like that. You know, facing that adversity, it's definitely prepared us, and yeah, just we have a lot of film to watch and a lot of things to get better on. So excited.
Now with a 4-game win streak, the Ramblers will travel to Muncie, Indiana for their first conference game against Ball State. First service set for 6 p.m. From the Loyola Athletics Hall of Fame, Vanessa Hoxha, Rambler Sports Locker.
Thanks, Vanessa. What a big win for the Ramblers. On August 25, 1950, Althea Gibson became the first African American to be permitted to compete at the U.S. Tennis National Championships. Although she began her career long before 1950, this moment continued the pursuit of breaking down the color barrier for black athletes. As we begin Black History Month, I want to highlight Gibson, a black athlete that became a role model for current black tennis players. Gibson was born on August 25, 1927 in Silver, North Carolina. 3 years later, her family moved to Harlem in hopes of a brighter future. Basketball and paddle tennis were her strengths as a child, but she began to flourish in tennis. She played in the American Tennis Association, the oldest African-American sports organization in the United States. In 1947, she won the first of 10 straight ATA national women's titles. When people began to notice her abilities, mentors started to help Gibson improve her game. After her historic run at the U.S. National Championships, her confidence only increased from there. She won her first international championship in 1951 at Montego Bay, Jamaica, but her most notable wins come from her Grand Slams. In 1956, Gibson won her first Grand Slam, the French Open. In 1957 and 1958, she won Wimbledon and the U.S. Open twice. She only became a finalist at the Australian Open in 1957, but in total, including her doubles titles, Gibson won 11 titles. After the 1958 season, she retired from the amateur tennis and turned professional. But there wasn't as much money that could be made for female tennis players, so she decided to switch gears and become a professional golfer. In 1964, she became the first African-American woman to join the Ladies Professional Golf Association Tour. She retired from golf after the 1978 season. On September 28, 2003, Gibson passed away at the age of 76. Once Gibson won her first Grand Slam, more black tennis players began to follow. Some examples include 3-time winner Arthur Ashe, 23-time winner Serena Williams, 7-time winner Venus Williams, and the recent U.S. Open champion Keough Gloff. Althea Gibson has and will continue to influence future generations of black tennis players. Her bravery in breaking the color barrier will always be appreciated. For Rambler Sports Locker, I'm Kirstan Richardson.
Thanks, Kirstan. What an inspiring story. Some would say scoring 70 points in an NBA game is inspiring as well. Now, for a discussion of defense in the NBA, here's Lucas Kihmm with the Ramble.
Hey guys, welcome to another edition of The Ramble. I'm your host, Lucas Kihmm, here with William Bazzone and Evan Nave. I think this is a pretty popular subject, but is defense becoming irrelevant in the NBA? Over the last couple of weeks, we've seen guys like Luka Doncic of the Mavs drop 73 points in one game, and Mr. Trust the Process, Joel Embiid of the 76ers dropped 70. Devin Booker and Karl Anthony Towns recently had 60-point games too. Are guys getting lazy? Are they just being ball hogs? William, I'm going to start with you on this take.
Well, Lucas, I don't know. I feel like the game of basketball has really changed. I feel like it's positionless basketball in the NBA. It's just like everybody can shoot a three-pointer. Everybody can be more of a dynamic scorer. It's not like, a guy like Joel Embiid, he's going to stretch the floor. I mean, he might not take a lot of threes, but he's just like, he's a player who wouldn't be scoring 70 in the NBA 10 years ago or 20 years ago when it was a much more defensive game. He'd be staying inside the post and defending the perimeter and just making sure, staying where he I guess, should be. And granted, it's a cool thing, but at the same time, I just don't like how it's become a shooter-first mentality. It's just not interesting to watch 150-point games, 130-point games. It's not exciting. Obviously, I'm not like, oh, we need low-scoring defensive games where it's like 85 to 77. Not at all. I just think it should be an exciting game throughout where you see both sides of the ball shine through and not just one.
I'm going to have to say that I definitely agree. I feel that there should be more defense involved because it makes the game more challenging. When there's a lack of defense, it's easier for the opposing team to win. But if there's a fair amount of defense on both sides, then the game will be more challenging and morale will boost. And I feel like defense is starting to become a little bit irrelevant, but it shouldn't. So we need to increase defense on all teams to make the game more fun and more challenging. Because who wants just a regular, straight, boring game of 60-0?
Yeah, well, I don't think it'll be 60-0, but I mean, don't you think it's a little entertaining that, you know, maybe like you're seeing like guys like Stephen Curry who possibly basically changed the game, and he's shooting a lot of points, and a lot of the three-pointers are coming as big points. Like, what do you think about guys like them? Like, don't you want to see the stars shine, you know? Like, I mean, Joel Embiid, he's a huge character. Who else? Devin Booker?
Sure,
like,
I mean, they're all
he's a
great
huge player.
They're all great players, but like, even when it comes to defense, right? I feel like everybody's just big on like taking charges. They don't play straight up defense. They don't play with their hands up, and you know, the offenses are just like trying to find the open man, right? It's like you just find whoever's open, take a three, and as you mentioned, guys like Curry really pioneered that, right? They made the three-point shot very viable because it used to just be back 10 years ago or a little bit even closer than it was, right? Like 5 years ago, it wasn't about like, you know, you didn't have like 8 guys shooting three-pointers on a team. You maybe had 2 or 3 guys who were pretty skilled from there, and now it feels like, as I said a minute ago, everybody can shoot the three. That's why I really prefer college basketball a lot more because you see teams running an offense and a defense, right? You see a lot of set plays, you see a lot of set defenses, and it's just exciting to see not one player shine, not one player be a ball hog, right?
Yeah.
Like you have role players playing off of each other, and I think that's exciting and what the NBA should more look like.
Do you think the NBA should kind of mirror college basketball where it's more teamwork, running plays, more defense? What do you think, Kevin?
Absolutely. I feel that definitely should mirror college basketball because I feel there's more unity, there's more togetherness, and there's definitely a fair balance of offense and defense, and it makes the games fun and more challenging. And I'm not discounting Stephen Curry and the star Stephen Curry and the star players, but I would say that they didn't get to where they were without a challenge, and I feel like putting the offense and the defense gives them the advantage to work harder for their plays. So there needs to be equality in defense and offense.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Well, thank you guys so much for joining the show this week. Let's toss it back to our anchors.
Thanks, everyone. It will definitely be interesting to see if we get any more big performances this NBA season. What do you think about the Groundhog predicting that spring will be here soon?
Well, Natalie, I'm crossing my fingers that the Groundhog's predictions are right.
Well, that wraps up this episode of Rambler Sports Locker.
To stay up to date on all things Rambler Sports, be sure to follow us on X, TikTok, and Instagram at Loyola RSL, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
From all of us here at Rambler Sports Locker, I'm Natalie King.
And I'm Taylor Zielenbach.
We'll see you next week, and don't forget to turn off the lights.